Hi, this is Shalimar Steinberg, and today I am talking about how to use layers in order to filter and sort components of your drawings into different spaces that can be turned on or off. So in order to create a layer or to change layers, we can go into the Layer Manager up here, and you'll see that right now the currently selected layer on the drop-down menu is Zero Layer. We typically do not draw on the zero layer unless we are drawing blocks, so we're going to start off our drawings by creating a series of layers. By clicking into the Layer Manager, I get to this screen here, and I see my zero layer, which is already created. I can then click on this little symbol here, and this is going to say New Layer. It looks like a pane of glass with a little sunburst. And when I do that, it's going to create a layer based off of the settings of the zero layer. Those settings are to have a color that is white, a continuous line type, a default or thin line thickness, and then to have the layer turned on over here at the little light bulb, and to have the layer not be frozen. Those are the standard settings, and that's where we want it to be. I'm just moving these over a little bit so that you can see what all the words actually say. And line type and line weight, etc. Okay, so in order to do this, I'm going to say New Layer. It's going to ask me to name it. Now for the assignment that you're creating today, you need at least these 4 layers, but you are free to add extra ones, like you could have an object layer to draw the 6 boxes that your assignment requires on, and you could have a text layer for your text separately. To look at the assignment really quickly, what you're going to do is draw 6 boxes that are 5 by 5 inches each, and then you can do them in side by side or in rows. In each box, you're going to draw a picture and text using some of these layers. You don't have to use every layer in every box, but you do have to have at least one object on every layer in your overall drawing. And then you can use those in order to create a progression, so something happening to or changing a given object, or tell a story or make a little comic or those kind of things. There must be objects drawn on each layer for credit, and then the file should be save as your last name assignment2.dwg. So the layers that you need are going to be layer 1. And then we're going to go over here, and it says to change that to cyan, which is this kind of teal blue color here. And we're going to say OK. And then it says continuous line type, so that's good, but it wants a thicker line weight. Remember, the line weight says how thickly that line is going to show up when you print it out. So that's going to be thicker, so it's going to be a 30 millimeter, or 0.3 millimeter, sorry. And then we can go on to the next one. Now for the next one, I want that default line thickness again, so I'm going to select the zero layer as the one that I base it on again, because if I kept it on layer 1, it would come in with a thick line that I would have to change. So I'm going to do this for layer 2, and then I'm looking over here, it says do a red color, so I'm going to change to a red color, and I'm going to change the line type. So when I first open the program, continuous is the only line type selected, but I want a dashed or hidden line type for this drawing. So I'm going to go to Load. I'm going to scroll past these ones that say ACAD. These are all really specific to different areas. I'm going to go down to these ones that are just word specific, and I'm looking for the dashed line type here. So I'm going to then say OK. And now I have to make sure that the continuous one is still in blue, so that's the selected one. So I have to select dashed in order to apply it and say OK. And then I want that default line thickness, so that's correct. My next layer is going to be layer 3. And I could be naming these based on what they're going to be for if I had already decided what I was going to draw in this object. So layer 3 is supposed to be green, which is this green right here. These are the standard kind of primary color defaults. They're the easiest ones to use. They stand out really well. And then the line type is going to again require me to load a new one, and I want the center line type this time. So I'm going to scroll down to here, and there's the center. It's a long line and then a short dash repeated, and then I have to pick that one again, and then layer 4, which is going to be a phantom line type, so again, loading a new line type. And you can actually select all of the ones that you want to load at once on your first layer, and then just pick them as you go through. So, and then phantom line type there, and your choice of color. In this case, I'm going to pick probably magenta. The dark blue is nice too, but against the black screen it doesn't show up as well, but it shows up really nicely in white when you're doing something like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my 0 layer as my base, and I'm going to create an object layer. This is where I'm going to draw my 6 boxes. And I'm going to leave that white and continuous, but put it on the thicker line type. And then I'm going to do one for text as well. But you can do text on one of your other 4 layers if you want to. And for right now, I'm going to leave it white and continuous, but I'm going to change it back to a default thickness. Okay, so now I have my layers, and I can close out of my manager. Now the question is, how do I draw on those layers? What I do is go to my drop-down menu, and I select the layer that I want to draw my objects on. So I'm going to draw my boxes first, so I want my object layer. Then I can either draw them with lines, or I can do a rectangle. If I choose to do a rectangle, it's going to ask me first where I want the first corner to be. And then, in order to tell it that I want it to be 5 by 5, I'm going to now look down at my command line down here, and I can either click on dimensions or type D and hit enter. And then it's going to say what's the length, so I'm going to say that 5 inches and hit enter. And then it's going to say what's the width, I'm going to say 5 again and hit enter. Now I have my rectangle and it's attached to the screen. I just have to decide whether I want it to go up or down. It doesn't really matter at this point. And I have my object. Now I can either do that 5 more times, or I can use the copy command, which we'll be learning more about this week. And I can click copy. It says select object. Then I hit enter to say no more objects. Excuse me, I must have been in the wrong command there. Okay, copy, select object, hit enter, and then specify a base point. I'm going to pick this one, and then I can just specify how far over I want it to be. And do the next one. And it stays attached to my cursor until I'm done placing all the ones that I want. And I can use the track down from here in order to match it up. And the same with here so that the spacing is the same. Okay, so now I have all of my boxes. They're on my object layer. I can tell that because if I hover over them for a second, it's going to pop up, and in the middle it says Layer Object. Now I want to draw something in that box that is not on the object layer. I'm going to start out by drawing something on my cyan blue kind of layer, and whatever my object is going to be. So I'm going to draw maybe a face. And so I'll draw a circle. Zoom in a little bit. I'm going to draw a line for the mouth, and I'm going to draw an ellipse for an eye, and then I'll probably just copy that one so I have the same eyes. Okay, so that's going to be my face. Then I can copy that face into my second block and make some changes to it if that's going to be my progression. Or I could do something else in this block that tells my story. I'm going to now stop this video, and then I will make a separate video for how to add the text.